What's going on, everyone? I'm just a typical, average American here today to react and learn about Norwegian news. Because as an American, I never hear about Norwegian news here in the United States from any of our news. So today, I want to take some time to learn about the current news and events happening in Norway that I otherwise would never get to hear about. So let's take a look here, starting with conservative wave rolls over Norway. Really? Because obviously, here in America, with the recent election, the conservative wave is rolling all over the United States. I didn't know this was even a thing in Norway. Have there been elections recently in Norway? Or as Norway's struggling left center government braces for the new conservative Trump presidency in the United States, yes, Norway also faces a new reality at home. A majority of young Norwegian men are voting for conservative parties. Interesting. I mean, this is the exact same phenomenon happening in the United States. A lot of the reason that Donald Trump won here in the United States was a big turnout and vote from young American men. So there seems to clearly be a wave going on here. Also, in areas of the country where labor and other left leaning parties have dominated for decades. Interesting. Do they go into more detail, say why, or this is interesting to me because here in America, we never get to hear about Norwegian politics. So this is interesting to me. A public poll on Tuesday released showed how the Labor Party and the Center Party have sunk to new lows. Does that mean a lot of the reason here in America Donald Trump won was a lot of Americans were just not happy with how things are going. I mean, I know that's a very basic, simplistic analysis, maybe the most basic, but fundamentally, if people want change, if they're not happy with how things are currently going, they're going to vote someone new into power. That's basically, on a basic level. I didn't know in Norway there are people that were so unhappy that the Labor and Center Party are sinking to new lows in popularity. In Norway's county of Finnmark, Center now holds 5.8% of the vote, only a third of the vote it had just last national election, 2021. When is the next Norwegian national election, by the way? Anything else here? The Conservative Party jumped 3.2 parts in Finnmark. This is in Finnmark. What about nationally? But it's showing that this reflects a nationwide trend. Huh. Interesting. Very interesting. Is there anything else here? Two young men in Norway hold high ranking roles in both the Progress and Conservative parties. Man, Norway has a lot of political parties. That's a wonderful thing, by the way. Here in America, we have two parties to choose from. I don't know, maybe in Norway, what are the biggest political parties that actually have chance to win and have the new prime minister? Because it sounds like things are changing. Hard to tell because this is just based off a couple of polls. It seems to represent young men in Norway who are becoming more conservative. Last year's local elections in Norway resulted in almost all Norwegian cities switching from Labour to conservative-led local governments. This is a reaction to a decade of concern for climate, environment, diversity, and equality. Now it's economy, defense, and personal freedom that are more important at the forefront. And rapidly rising prices. Interesting. Very interesting. This is something I didn't know about Norway. Okay, let's keep going here. Norway has apologized for assimilation policy towards ethnic minorities? What is this? Did something bad happen? The Norwegian parliament issued a formal apology on Tuesday to Norway's indigenous people, including the Sami, Kvener, and Finnish migrants. Norwegian state officials tried for more than a century to force them to give up their native languages, traditions, and religion, and force them to become as Norwegian as possible, but now have concluded that just wasn't right. Wow. Talk about another part of Norwegian history I didn't know about. But it feels like this is the story of so many countries. Of course, including the United States, where we came in and took over from the original indigenous inhabitants of the United States, the Native Americans. And only now, in hindsight, are we finally like, oh, that was really, we did a lot of cruel, bad things during that whole process. Norway seems to be experiencing the same thing, where in hindsight, it's like, oh, trying to force, small minority indigenous people to give up their language, their traditions, their culture, their religion, to try to force them to become Norwegian. Probably not good. Probably not the most humane thing to do. So that's nice. Norway is recognizing that and apologizing for that. That's certainly, I don't know how much that means to the people it actually affected, but it's certainly a positive thing, step in the right direction. Telephone service went out of order. Like a Norwegian telephone provider? Norway's major telecoms provider, Telenor, reported technical problems that disrupted mobile phone and some internet service all over the country? Emergency numbers were affected. This is a huge deal. Is this as big a deal as I think it is? You can't just have your cell phone coverage go out. That's very dangerous, especially since they're saying emergency phone numbers for medical assistance, police, fire were affected. People couldn't call the police or the hospital. That's really bad. That's scary. What? Telenor confirms that customers weren't getting through to emergency services. All police districts were also having trouble with their phone networks. Whoa. I mean, this sounds like a really big deal. This could have actually caused people to lose their lives or, who knows what. For better or for worse, in the modern day, we assume we're going to be able to have our phone and use it and, get into communication, whether that's this could affect your business, needing to communicate for your business, your personal health and safety, if you're trying to contact the hospital or the police, or just your mother or whatever, if you're making plans, all across the board. Scary that can happen. Did they say how this happened? It's the third time they've had phone trouble in the last 3 months. It's extremely serious and unacceptable that this is happening again. Yeah. The reason for the trouble was unclear, but Telenor blamed it later in the day on a power failure at one of their centrals that took out the battery backup. Man, well, maybe you need a backup for the backup. That's scary. Wow. Kon-Tiki Museum launches return of excavated items to Easter Island. Huh? What? When a Norwegian explorer, Thor Heyerdahl, visited Rupa Nua, Easter Island, he conducted months of excavations that revealed thousands of items he took back to Norway. Many of them are now finally being returned to Easter Island, off the coast of Chile. They include human remains. Really? It seems like Norway is doing a like this reminds me of apologizing for assimilating ethnic minorities. Norway is apologizing for that, trying to make it right. Norway is returning excavated items taken from Easter Island and returning them. Norway, that's good. That's awesome. Honestly, that's awesome. Norway seems to really be going out of its way to make things right if they feel like in the past they've done some things that they shouldn't have done. Okay, are there anything else here? Norwegian royal family member held in custody? Are we talking about, yes, Marius Borg Høiby? Yes, in the past weeks in Norwegian news, in the videos I've done, this has come up time and time and time again. Do we have another update about this? The oldest son of Norway's crown princess will be spending the next week in jail after he was arrested Monday night for the third time. Oh my god. This is just not. It was never looking good for Marius Borg Høiby. This is third time in jail just this autumn. He faces new charges of rape, domestic violence, other violation of a restraining order. I mean, for goodness sake. You got to give him a fair trial and all that, but it just feels like the writing is on the wall. You're just starting to hear about this every single week. Something bad he's doing or done. He's going to be held in custody for at least a week while police investigate the charges against him. The latest is a second rape charge disclosed involving another young woman. That's horrible. If he's convicted, found guilty for these things, I hope justice is put on him and he goes to jail and prison. Obviously, you can't judge it before a fair trial is conducted, but when is that going to happen? When is he going to go to court and a judge and a jury and evidence? And that has to all happen, right? It feels like it's a foregone conclusion at this point. You hear so many bad things about him, so it's hard to have any sympathy. Guard at a U.S. embassy jailed for spying? What? This is the U.S. Embassy in Norway? A Norwegian man working as a security guard at the U.S. Embassy in Oslo is now in police custody, suspected of sharing information with Russian and Iranian authorities. No way. A court in Oslo ordered him held in prison for 4 weeks. They're investigating his espionage. No way. This is scary stuff, too. A guard it's a Norwegian who's giving information. He's literally a spy. A Russian spy. No way. He was arrested at home in his garage. He's a Norwegian citizen in his 20s. He's been charged with gathering and sharing intelligence. 10 years in prison. Wow. Wow. Well, at least they were able to catch him. That's scary stuff, especially in this day and age, where obviously tensions are really, really, really high between Russia and a lot of other countries, including Norway. Smashing comeback at season opener. Smashing comeback. What sport is this? A veteran Norwegian skier Therese Johaug made a spectacular comeback. It's Norway's ski season opener. She won the women's 10-kilometer classic and was so far ahead that other commentators called it a warning to anyone else who was keen on winning. She outclassed everyone. She's won multiple Olympic gold and world championships. This is just Norway's greatest woman skier, I think. And she's absolutely killing it now at the new season. That's really cool. Talk about something I don't hear about is professional skiing. I don't hear anything about that here in America. Oslo tree makes its way to London. Oslo tree? City officials in Oslo are hoping that the Christmas tree they sent to London arrives in good shape. Oh, this... I know this. This is a tradition Norway has with the UK, where they send a Christmas tree to London. Oh my god, that is so cool. It's earlier been criticized, the tree. The tree is being criticized for being a bit shabby. But here's photographic evidence that the carefully selected tree was lush and full when it was chopped down. Yeah, it's a big tree. Looks very lush, very full. are, are Norwegians like embarrassed that it's looking a little bare? Did it lose some of its foliage, some of its needles? That happens, you know. It's part of Oslo's annual expression of gratitude for the help Norway received from Great Britain in World War II. Yeah, very cool. I mean, this is just a wholesome, cool story. It was picked from the Grefsen area. Uh, oh, they actually cut it down with a saw. This is such a great tradition. Wow. Are people actually upset that the tree doesn't look good enough? That seems a little silly. The British ambassador was more accustomed to Norwegians' casual dress. They found that sawing down a tree is hard work. Looks like a big tree. Holy cow. That's cool. That's nice to kind of end this on a positive note. Wholesome story. The Oslo Christmas tree for London. I think with that, that's a good place to stop. That's got me caught up on, I think, a lot of the big news stories in Norway. I didn't know about any of this stuff, which is honestly a real reason why I really enjoy checking out the Norwegian news, going out of my way to check it out, because this was all brand new for me. Some updates, some the telephone service, the apologies for the ethnic minorities, the politics. Really interesting stuff, actually. A lot of stuff happening in Norway. So I enjoyed this. Anyway, if you enjoyed this as well, feel free to give this video a like or leave a comment with your thoughts on any of this Norwegian news or any other news that I might have missed that's big in Norway. That'd be awesome to hear about. And if you're interested in more videos like this, me reacting to Norway and learning about Norwegian culture, feel free to subscribe for more. And until then, thanks for watching, and see you next time.